Coming up on Golf Central, Rory McIlroy's is back in the headlines again. He had an MRI done today over in Ireland. We have the results just ahead.
But first, a potential setback for Siwoo Kim just hours after becoming the youngest players champion in history. You'll hear from his swing coach, Sean Foley.
Plus, the best of the best from the players last week, from aces to an albatross. We have all the magical moments right now on Golf Central.
Golf Central. Brought to you by Titleist.
On a day when many PGA Tour veterans struggled to climb to the top of the leaderboard, it was a 21-year-old rolling in the birdie putts when he needed them most. A bogey-free final round 69 propelled Siwoo Kim to the Players' title. It was a big step forward for his career, but today Kim revealed a potential step back involving his back, releasing this statement. After consulting with my team last night and this morning, I have decided to withdraw from this week's A&T Byron Nelson. On Saturday night at the Players, my back began to flare up. On Sunday when I arrived, I received treatment from a physio on the putting green that helped me get through the round, and fortunately, win the tournament. Having dealt with the last 2 days, I feel it is best for me to take precautionary measures to ensure I can play and compete fully healthy for the rest of the season. And with that, we welcome you into Golf Central. Lisa Cornwell, Tim Rosafort, who spent all week at TPC Sawgrass. Right now, let's welcome in Siwoo's instructor, Sean Foley. Sean, thanks a lot for the time. How serious is his back issue?
He had hurt his back in the fall series last year, or it's always been a bit of a bother to him, for many years, like many guys who get over in their posture and turn both ways very hard. The body's not really meant to play golf as much as we do. So this is more precautionary in the sense that, he's just done what he's done. He's just won the Players' Championship, which is absolutely mind-blowing. It's not surprising because he's obviously a very skilled player, but I think we have to rest on the side of if there's little issues in there. It's been getting better and better and better, but sometimes there's going to be some reoccurrence, and we just have to make sure that we do the right thing.
Sean, what can you do as an instructor? I mean, do you change things up? What do you do to sort of alleviate this or avoid it in the future?
I think Siwoo's played 15 of the last 17 events, and that's very much a 21-year-old error. We have discussed that Jack Nicklaus and Tiger Woods would play 17 events in a year, not in 17 weeks. So I think it's, he's a young kid. He's the youngest player on tour, and he's going to have to learn the hard way. And what we need to get players to understand is that, rest and recovery is very much a part of performance, and it's just never really been looked at that way. And there's a few of us on tour now who are looking deeply down those areas because we've seen these things reoccur and reoccur and reoccur in all of these players. So you do the best that you can. You do the best that you can from a technical standpoint, trying to make sure that Siwoo stays tall and gets a little bit taller in his pelvis and lets his lower body turn. That helps it. A lot of these kids are taught to keep their right knee bent for power, and it's really, it's completely inaccurate because it doesn't create any more power.
Sean, he seemed impervious to the pressure. He makes no bogeys in the last 18 holes. You said he was like the Korean Ballesteros. Was there anything yesterday that he displayed that surprised you?
When I started with him, he was really struggling, so he's been building up, and I've seen over the last maybe 5 weeks, I've seen stretches of 6 or 7 holes where I'm kind of like, wow. And I've been telling Justin Rose, like, this kid is a special player, and we play with him on Wednesday, and he said, I can see what you see. And I mean, if I told you I thought he was going to win on Thursday, that'd be crazy of me. But I saw someone I hadn't even met yet, and it was really, really impressive.
What's more impressive, Sean, the fact that he got through all 4 qualifiers at age 17, or that he walked through that gauntlet yesterday, as I said, without losing a stroke?
Well, one, if you think about when he was 17, he goes through all 4 stages. Can you imagine him being like on a high school golf team during that time? So that'd be one crazy thing. And then the second one that trips me out is thinking that he could have went to the University of Florida, Oklahoma State, and been a junior in the NCAA regionals right now. So I think when you put it like that, it's it's pretty wow. I mean, just the fact that he keeps his card on tour, whether he becomes a world beater or not, is very, very impressive. So he's a popular, you know what, with the players, he's a popular kid. He treats Phil Mickelson and a volunteer on the first tee the same way. He's very respectful. He's got a great sense of humor, and I couldn't be happier for him and his caddy, because they've been going through it for 5-6 months. I kind of came along and tried to help, but they've been through it, and so his caddy Mark has got unabashed faith in this kid, and kept telling me, "You wait, you watch when this kid starts playing better. He like transforms." And I mean, I saw it firsthand. I mean, I was blown away, to be honest with you.
How did you guys meet, and how did this partnership happen?
In 2016 at Bay Hill, his caddy, who I didn't know that well, came up to me at Bay Hill and said, like, my man can't draw the ball. Can you give us a lesson today? And I said, well, I'm pretty busy, but I can maybe see him around like 5 o'clock. So Siwoo came back to the course, and we did a little lesson, got him drawing the ball. And I said, look, that's great. Nice to meet you. And on you go. And then he kept playing. And then it got a little bit, obviously started to struggle with some back pain, made some equipment changes, just kind of errors just that young men make. And it's fine. You know, we don't discipline mistakes. We allow mistakes. People need to learn. And so then at San Diego, they asked me to take another look. And I said, look, guys, like, doing this once a year isn't going to be enough. I see some real difference now in his technique versus last year. He changed equipment. I said, so it's kind of all catching up on him. And I said, look, I'll put it in your hands. And then Siwoo decided at LA that he wanted to start to work with me, and that's how it all kind of it all happened very organically, very naturally.
Sean Foley, congratulations on the win. I know it's exciting for you, and best wishes to Siwoo and his recovery. Appreciate the time.
Okay, thanks so much, guys. Have a great night.
So it was interesting, Tripp, when you listen to Sean Foley speaking about Siwoo Kim, a lot of the stuff that he was talking about, first of all, this idea of 5 to 6 weeks he saw something coming. You know, as a player, that when you feel it coming together, but you're not really getting the results yet, and then, of course, he breaks through this weekend. But some of the things that Sean was talking about that really stood out to me is when he talked about the fact that his role now is as much as a mentor as it is a coach, and that some of the things that they're working on, time management, reacting more logically than emotionally. I mean, when I think about all those things, to me, it sounds an awful lot like a 21-year-old through a natural maturing process, even though this 21-year-old is incredibly talented. And Shawnee had told me earlier today that they hooked him up with the same chiropractor. The guy's name is, I believe, Brendan McLaughlin, who is the chiropractor for Justin Rose as well. And the last piece, the piece that Rosie asked him about being the Korean Sevi, Sean Foley had told me that he said he's the Fred Couples cool out on tour. He doesn't get bothered, doesn't take it personal. That's a pretty good assortment at 21 years old.
Well, absolutely. If you're that cool and calm a customer, which he was, you know, all weekend long. And it really, if we look at putting his name on a list, an impressive list, you know, there was when he won in Greensboro last year, you were like, man, this guy's got a lot of talent. He played great at the Tour Championship, but he really has fallen on hard times. But the game was trending in the right direction, and it's hard to see those results because usually you start to see a trail of results. But when you put your name next to Tiger Woods, Sergio Garcia, and Jordan Spieth, you're doing some great stuff. But in particular, I want to pay attention to one hole this last weekend. It was the 14th hole on Saturday and Sunday. A poor drive, just 223 yards off the tee, left him 268 yards away from this hole. A driver out of the trampled down grass and into the wind, just a beautiful shot. Many called it the shot of the tournament, at least for the champion. I don't think you can question that much. A beautiful two-putt and a par that could have easily been a 6 or even worse there. Then on Sunday, after a beautiful drive, 359 yards away, he blew it over the green in a very difficult spot. Had only hit 3 greens on the back 9 on Sunday, and he got every one of them up and down, including that gem right there. So that shows the cool, calm nature. What did it for him was his driver in particular and that short game. He only hit 8 greens that final round at Stadium Golf Course, and don't make any bogeys. Siwoo Kim's extremely talented around the green.
Lisa, how about that for being clutch?
I'm jealous. How about that? I like it. Now it's time for the Clutch Performance, brought to you by Bridgestone. It's all about Siwoo Kim and his bunker play last week. These shots, though, all in the final round here at the par 3 third. Just playing it beautifully. he would salvage par. As you can see, just a little tap in, give it to the young man. Let's go to number 10, again from the bunker. A little lengthier shot, but pretty much the same result, up and over the lip, and again, another tap in for par. This one a little bit more difficult at 11, short-sighted himself, and you can see the lip a little more treacherous as well, open the face, and just got it to stop on a dime. He would say par again en route to a bogey-free 69 on Sunday. There was something about TPC Sawgrass that really reignited the spark in Kim's game. How about these strokes gained numbers before and during Players Week? Strokes gained off the tee. What an improved performance there and around the green. That sand save percentage, that's a huge jump that really helped him salvage a lot of par. Speaking of Kim's bunker play, let's go over to Trip with Michael Breed from the Golf Fix for a breakdown of Siwoo's technique in the sand.
Michael, let's get right into it. Now, Siwoo Kim was fantastic off the tee this last week, but in particular around the greens. Only 2 players better in gaining strokes than him, but in particular, one area out of the bunkers.
Yeah, and he was undefeated on Sunday out of the bunker. Got every one of them up and in. So you know he knows what he's doing when he gets into that sand.
What does he do so well?
Well, what I love and what most people at home aren't doing is that hand path. When he comes through it, his hand path is working around him. So many people are driving the hands down into the sand or trying to help the club get up into the air so that the ball can get out of the bunker, that fear of that sand. And what he's doing is he's letting the club work by whipping it around inside to the lead hip. And what that does is it retains the loft and it really uses the bounce so that the club is skipping off that sand. It's coming out very, very softly and it's got some spin. And something that I think that all of us could do to improve that is making sure that that chest continues its rotation through the shot. That will fling the hands around the body, and that's going to throw that ball up into the air.
And the other thing, good bunker players, their divots look like a football, don't they? That's exactly, if you do that, that's going to help create that football shape, and that's what you want to see out of the bunkers.
Exactly, and you don't have to be so precise when you can do that as well.
Absolutely right. Catch more of Michael's brilliance on the Golf Fix every Monday night on Golf Channel.
Looking forward to it. Thank you, fellas. Siwoo Kim joined several elite lists with his Players victory. One of those we touched on briefly earlier in the show. He's now the youngest winner in the championship's history, and by almost 2 full years. Adam Scott set the previous mark in 2004 as a 23-year-old, and before him it was a 24-year-old Fred Couples who did it in 1984. Rory McIlroy returned to action for the first time since the Masters and becoming a married man last month, but it didn't go quite as he had planned. Instead of the focus being on his performance at TPC Sawgrass, it was more about some issues that he's been having with his back. Rory announced that he was having an MRI today on that back in Northern Ireland. Rosie, what did he find out from that report?
Good news for the McIlroy camp, Lisa. MRI scan confirmed no new injury, rather than a low-grade response to the rib joint that was injured earlier this year. As of now, I'm still entered to play in the BMW PGA Championship. That's 10 days away, and we'll decide early next week if I'm in a position to compete. Now, what does all this mean? Well, talked to Dr. Ara Sapaya today, our house doctor. He said it's all good. Common situation after a rib fracture, not a major issue, but it can cause pain and impede the swing. So what's the lesson here, Lisa? The lesson is, don't be testing equipment for 4 or 5 hours like he did out in Dubai earlier this year, which caused that rib fracture. And then he did the same thing, coming off a honeymoon, excited to be playing golf again, had that new bag of sticks, ready to sign the big deal with TaylorMade. So he's down at the Bears Club 4 or 5 hours. That's why he had the problems that he did at the Players Championship.
Yeah, he's not a 20-year-old anymore, right?
No, that's true. Good point.
He's out there enjoying life.
I tell you, as Kim showed, you can be a 21-year-old and have this epidemic issue that we're faced in golf this year.
If we all could just feel as youthful as you do, then we'd be just fine.
I only take it back this far, so you can't hurt my
That's something to be said about that. You mentioned his schedule. Let's take a look at it. Rosie, look, these are big events, and so, trying to skip one of these would be really tough. These are important ones for him, especially with this major right around the corner.
Yeah, the BMW PGA, the flagship event of the European Tour, sort of the Players' Championship for them. That's the big one that he targets. He's won on that golf course. He's also not a new fan of the new design. Memorial, he's Jax's guy down at the Bears Club and his mentor besides his dad. He wants to certainly be ready for the U.S. Open and then the Travelers, which is his add-on.
He's young and fit. I'm sure he will be just fine. We're all pulling for him. Still to come, more on the youngest players champion in tournament history. Trip tells you what gives Siwoo Kim the edge to continue contending in the biggest events in golf. Plus, see why Rafa Cabrera Bello brought out the gun show at TPC Sawgrass. His historic feat ahead at our Shots of the Week. And from Sergio to Lydia and a major title defense for Bernhard Langer, we get you set for the biggest events across the globe. It's happening this week. You're watching Golf Central.
Golf Central is brought to you by Titleist, the #1 ball at the Players. Comcast Business, built for business.